In this quick example, we will walk you through building a solution using data that is already existing in SharePoint. As you can see, there are many lists of custom lists inside here. We have a lot of data. However, this is content. What customer wants is that they want to have a business solution. So to begin, we start by looking at our site content. And if Webparts360 is already installed, you can click on the solution designer, and this in turn will activate our service for this particular subsite, and it will create an application from this current subsite. So what essentially is doing is pulling all together, is adding all the web parts that's required to build the system. And once you're done, the system is complete, and you can now see that there are the few web parts. Being the services that connect to the data, the designer, which is allows you to design the solutions, and the three web parts: Smart List, Smart View, and Smart Menu, which will actually provide you with the functionality that you require. So when it is done, you will be able to see all the solution in place. So once you have this solution designer, you can click on the solution designer. Okay, and the system will open up, and it will connect to our service, and it will turn it into your solution. So the first thing you want to do is you want to come in and describe this. This is a projects expense tracking system, and it gives you a whole series of control over your solution, from the welcome page to the master page to the menu, the user, and all kinds of them, including connecting to the mobile. We will go through that later. For today, we will just connect and load up the system, and it will automatically provision an application using Webparts360. So within Webparts360, you have several elements: the pages, where the interface is put in, images, where you can put in all the images, and developer who uses the system, and the user group. In other words, the people who is allowed to use the solution. So to start, let's link a particular group that's already in our system. And let's say we look at the contracts team who is going to be using this solution. Okay. And you have the contracts team, and you're in the system. So the system provides you connection services that connects to your database, and it essentially turns this whole solution into a SQL relational database store, so that you can manage truly relational database for this whole entire business. You can use create data sources and custom function. But let's start with looking at the list of data that you have in the system. So we need to tell the system that we have a few tables, the department, expenses category, which we will link and put it into part of this solution. And once you come in, the system will allow you to reuse this data as if they were relational database. But this doesn't tell me much, right? So perhaps I should come in and look at it from the relationship that's inherent within the system. So I know that the system have projects, which is one of the core systems, and they have departments. And the system will, if there is a lookup, it will know that the project belongs to department, and it will know which is the foreign key. Okay, and the key. Alternatively, it will also know that they are category. Yeah, is of category, and this allows you to define your entity relationship within your system. Yeah, you can do subsequent one. For example, you can look at how the projects have expenses. Yeah, and And the expenses have item. Yes, our system is able to do parent-child, and each of these expenses belongs to expenses category. Yeah? So this allows you to build pretty complex solutions. Yeah, and this is project expenses ERD. And now you have all your systems in place and you're ready. So to begin building the system, let's start with the output in place. So with output, we can actually build a dashboard for our solution. Let's say, for example, you need to come up with a project listing. Yeah. So you can first start by selecting where is your data coming from. In this case, I'm going to select projects, right? So once you have that, I'm going to select these projects, and the system will be able to know that these are my project listing, right? And I can come in and select my view for the solution. So for example, I want a data grid, which is essentially a table, right? So this tables allows me to come in, select the data, allows me to come in with different look and feel for the solution. I like blueberry, this looks good. So then I can come in and select the specific columns I want. For example, I want to show you the project name, yeah. I want to be able to show you what is the category that it belongs to. I probably want to look at the budget, and I can actually come in and format it to a certain way that I want to look at. So say for example, I would like to see the start date and the finish date. I can come in and select the different look and feel that I want for the respective columns, right? And I'm going to look at the approval status. So I can even change the caption, and that's great. So once I have this, I want to show who is the project manager, and I can do that. So within each function, I have a lot of ability. One of the ability I have is I can allow it to sort, right? Or I can allow you to do a filter. The same thing I can do for my category, which is to sort and filter. And behind the scene, I can have all the menu options that I want. And I can change, for example, this creates a add new project, this update this project, and this allow you to view this project. I can add my permission for this particular system and say, for example, if you are a member of the contracts team, I will let you have the option of being able to view, new, edit, right? And if you are member of the admin team, I will give you all that, plus the ability to delete and even export to email, export to Excel. And that essentially gives me this ability of this system, and this I call this my project listing, right? And I can save this. Once I've saved this, I can drop this into my page, and by default the system provides this project listing page, and I set it to the zone. I say this is my projects listing, and I can select the type of border. I save this, and it would have added this into my page. So when I add up my new page, now I can see I have this beautiful listing, and it gives me all my data beautifully, right? And I have my options, right? I have the add functions. Everything that you want is inside here. Okay. Now, say if I want to look this as a different way, I could come back into my system, go back into the system and add a new view and say I want a Gantt view, right? And this becomes my project schedule. Once again, I want the project name, right? I want to have my project category, and probably I just want my budget. Probably take away the cents, and I want to show my start date, my finish date, and my percentage completed, and I show it in view. Again, I can select the different type of format that I want, and here I select this new accurate format, and again I will have the ability to put in my function to enable a new. Once I'm done, I can save this. I can now have two options. I can even save this and say by default it will show me the project listing. Once I've saved this, I can just come into my system and voila, I'm able to view my data, and it has now a new look and feel with the different options. Or I can go back to my previous listing and have the ability to sort it and able to edit it, right? I can update this as well. So it gives me a very powerful way of looking at how my data are kept. In this next stage, I will now build a process for approving projects. So I come to my transaction, I click on projects, and I'm able to transform a custom list into a transaction. And I can have two means of using the system, one by stage-wise, or I can use the built-in visual designer. And I say, well, in this, we have a few stages whereby the requester submits and the sponsors will approve it. Yeah. And then it goes to the project manager to implement it. And when it gets done, it is completed. So I can now build the logic and say this system has the ability to go through. When you submit, it goes to approver, and when they approve, it goes into an implementation stage. So I am able to define exactly what are the conditions that make sure it goes into approval stage, and that is when he selects the approval status and sets it to approve. So if he approves it, it goes here. One of the other cool things is that you can actually do round trip and say, if I reject it, for instance, I can go back to the previous stage, and this becomes very easy to build business workflow. Okay. Now, upon implementation, when it's completed, it goes here. So how do I know it's completed? I know it's completed because I will be updating another field called percentage completed, and when the progress is equals to 100. When percentage is 100% completed, it goes over to there, and voila, we have our logic. So now we can control the fields that the person goes in. So when the person submits, there are 3 forms, and one of the first forms he will use is the creation form, the new form, right? So this opens up a new project. In this form, we can control a lot of elements, most importantly the controls. So some columns are enabled, some columns are locked, and some columns are hidden. So for instance, I would want him to put in the project name. right? I want to make sure he puts in a department. I want to make sure he puts in a category, scope. Requested by, I will report it to the person who logs in. So he can't decide the budget, neither can he decide the plan finish, the approval status. None of these fields are actually meant by him. But the approval field, I might want it to be able to determine by department. And I will hide away the rest of the fields which I do not need. Right? So once I come in, those are the amount. Okay, he can request the budget when he needs it, when he wants to finish it, right? And of course, he has the ability to change the layout of the fields. And now he can come in and save. So this comes to the approval page. When it comes back to the second stage now, it is going to go to only the edit form, which is the approve form. In the approval form, once again, I can just change my look and feel, and I can say, well, I'm going to log the project name because that was done by the other person, and the category, the scope, requested by, budget. Maybe I want to be able to change the budget and stuff, and I can prove my status, put my remarks, log it to myself, and this one will be default to today. No stage, no schedule, none of these are meant, and I will want to be able to identify who is the project manager. So maybe I specified that up front, I push this up front, I can designate that to a project manager that I want it to. Right? Once I have that, I can save this, and it would be able to go in. So, and we will just go on and so on. So when we are done, I will say, well, when we select the department, I want to make sure I want to set the head of department to be the person who is going to approve my project. And this gives us the lookup. And when we are done, we save. The system allows us to build this logic in place. So let's test it out. So in this project listing, I could come in, I could add a new project. And the system allows me to come in to add a project. So this is a new HR onboarding system. Okay, it's a new system. Okay, and this goes to my HR department. It needs to go over to build, improve employee engagement, and we're going to put in 12,000 for this, and we hope to start by next week, and we want to finish in a few weekdays. Okay, and we save that, and the system has gone in, right? And that is the new HR system. So if I come in and I approve this, notice the screen has changed, and I can come in and say, hey, well, let me just bump it up and say, you know what, we should not really start until next month. Okay, and I'm going to give you a little bit more time to do it, and I'm going to approve this, and I'm going to put Jared in charge of this report. Good to go. And save this. Now I will be able to go in and put the system. Before we begin, I just come back to the quick system, put a listing on our listing. Let's make sure we are able to view the workflow, right? This team, they want to be able to view the workflow, save that. So when we come back here and we have our workflow, have a listing, we have a workflow, I should be able to look at my new HR system and check my workflow. And sure enough, the system will be able to show you at each stage how it went in and the time it has gone in. So this is a very quick way to show you how workflow update.